What's up, everybody? This is Bree from Young, Saved, and Free, and I'm back with another video. For all of you who are new here, welcome. And for all of you who have been watching me, welcome back. For everybody, make sure you're subscribed to my channel by clicking the red button below. And also hit the notification bell so you never miss another video from me. And guys, when I tell y'all this, I need y'all to understand how serious I am. Join the mailing list, okay? Like, join it. Just join it, because I got some stuff coming for you and you do not want to miss it. I'm telling you, you don't want to miss it. It's going to be great, amazing, all that. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, all of that. It's going to be all of that. But I guess we'll go ahead and get into the video. This is kind of a hard video for me to do. This is actually my second time recording this because I was all over the place in the first one and I couldn't really get my words together. But if you guys didn't know, September is PCOS Awareness Month. If you guys did not know, I was diagnosed with PCOS in 2016. And I guess I'll go ahead and tell you my story. So it all started in 2015. I was involved with this guy that I shouldn't have been. I mean, let's just be honest, I shouldn't have even been involved with him like that. It wasn't a serious relationship or anything. We were just messing around. And so this particular weekend, we had unprotected sex. And it's funny because I was going to a church fashion show the same day. That same weekend. And so, you know, a few weeks after that, I realized I missed my period, and I'm like, that's weird. I've never missed a period. And I was like, I shouldn't be missing a period anyway, because I've been on birth control for the last, I don't know how long, and I just started a new one back in February. And I've never, even when I changed birth controls, I never missed a period. I've been on birth control since I was 16 or 17, I think 17. And so when I missed my period, I was like, okay, that's weird. And so I'm like, well, let me just give it some time. Let me see if it's late. Because at the time, I was working a really, really stressful job. I was working for the Department of Children and Families as an abuse counselor, and it's a really stressful job. So I was like, well, maybe this is just how my body is dealing with stress. Because I haven't been on the phone at that job for like 3 months when that happened. So Easter Sunday, I decided to take a pregnancy test because it was just too much changing. Like, I was really stressed out. I was tired, and I would sleep, like, really, really sleep. Like, when I got out of church, we would get out of church at, like, 2 o'clock. I would sleep until, like, 8 o'clock. Like, my after-church nap was, like, a full night's rest. And then I would get up, eat, and go right back to sleep. And I was eating all the time, and it was just, and I eat a lot as it is, but it was an unusual type of eating, and I was like, this is not normal. So Easter Sunday, I took a pregnancy test. Sorry if y'all can hear that. It's like a motorcycle going by the house. I took a pregnancy test, and it was positive, and it came back positive quick, like super quick. I literally peed on the stick, put it on the counter, went to wash my hands. Before I could even finish washing my hands, it came back positive, and I was like, oh my God. So I started panicking immediately. I'm just going to be honest, I did. I started panicking because, one, I had only been on my own, like, out of college for 6 months, and I was already pregnant. And it was hard for me I knew it was going to be hard for me to have to explain that to my parents. One, because the guy that I was involved with was 10 years older than me. Two, my parents are the only ones on either side of either of their families that waited until they were married to have children. I have my mom's younger sister. She doesn't have any kids, so I guess out of the ones that have kids, my parents were the only ones that waited until they were married to have kids. And so I'm the oldest, so, you know, it's kind of a lot of pressure on me to maintain that standard, and I didn't do that. And then on top of that, I had to explain to them, you know, what happened. And I just wasn't really in the space where I wanted to do that, where I wanted to have that conversation, because the way that I met the guy was real messed up anyway. So, I hid it from my parents for about 2 months. And in that time period, that 2 months, the only reason I told my mom is because something was going wrong. So when I went to my first doctor's appointment, my test was negative. And I couldn't figure out why it was negative. I just took this test last week. Like, why is this test negative now? And she said, well, maybe it's just early. Sometimes it happens, just come back and we'll see what's going on. So I go to my primary care doctor, and she was just like, yeah, we're just going to treat it as a pregnancy because we don't, we want to make sure you and the baby are as healthy as possible, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. And so time keeps going. Still haven't seen the baby, but I'm getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Like within an 8-month period, I gained about 60 pounds. And that's unusual for me because I don't gain weight like that. Like my weight is maintained pretty well. Even if I do like eat a little heavier than I should, my weight still stays about the same. Like I've been at 185 for about 2 years. Like it might go up a pound or two here and there, but it doesn't really, if anything, it'll drop and then I'll go back up. But it's never like, it's pretty stable. So at that time, the biggest I had ever been was 160, and I have been 160 for about 2 years, and it took me all 4 years of college to gain the 30 pounds that I gained. Like it was just, my weight just doesn't fluctuate like that. So what happened? So probably this whole up and so if it's 8 months, it's probably like November, December time frame. Haven't had a period. Like I'm spotting here and there, like literally a spot, and I'm like, this is really weird because when I found out, when I took that first pregnancy test and it came back positive, I stopped taking my birth control. So there was no reason why my body should still be like off like that, because the birth control I was on was not so strong that I wouldn't have a period, because I didn't want that. And that was the thing about the first appointment. I went to the doctor that put me on birth control. She was like, didn't I just put you on birth control? I'm like, yeah, you did. And she was like, well, maybe it's just it hasn't gotten in your system yet. So I'm still going to the doctor, still getting treated, all of that, and still not really knowing what's going on. I guess I'll put in pictures too so y'all can see what exactly I looked like at that time, because everything was huge and I was all belly, like all belly, literally, like belly, booty, and boobs. Like that's it. Like it wasn't like I gained. It wasn't like, I don't want to call it sloppy weight, but it wasn't. You know how like when you gain a lot of weight, you jiggle. Like I wasn't jiggle. My stomach was hard. Like I say, like I could not push it. Like it was hard, and I couldn't understand why. Why they couldn't see anything, and my stomach is like this, and it's never happened before. Never had any health issues or anything like that, and I've been on birth control since I was like 17. So it was unusual that any of that was happening. And so when my due date came around, it was January 25th. Still nothing's happening. I'm walking a lot. I'm feeling these pains in my stomach and my sides, and I'm still big as a house. Like, I can't even explain what's going on. But the reason why they were treating it as a pregnancy is because there was a lady in Tallahassee who had twins and never saw either one of her babies. Her test never came back positive, nothing. And so they were treating me as it, and it happened like a year or two before my situation. So they were treating me as that. So they were like, we just don't want anything to happen, and then it falls on us. So a couple weeks go past my due date, and I'm like, I need to be induced. Somebody needs to induce me. And they were like, oh yeah, we'll get you in to be induced, blah, blah, blah. And so I think it was like, it was right before Valentine's Day. And the doctor calls me. She says, Ms. Brown, we need to talk. And I was like, what's up? Like, why I haven't been induced yet? Because I got a house full of baby stuff and ain't no baby. What y'all waiting on? Because I'm I'm hurting. I'm tired. I'm like, I don't want to be this big anymore. Somebody need to do something. And so she said, Ms. Brown, there is no baby. And I'm like, what you mean? Like, what you mean, baby? And it was, to me, I felt like the doctors knew the whole time and were just stringing me along to like appease me because I couldn't understand what was going on with my body. At that time, I had taken off work to figure out what was going on, and I literally couldn't get up anymore. Like, I was that big, and I'm gonna try my hardest not to cry because this was a very stressful time in my life. It was the roughest season I ever been in my life. Not gonna lie. So I took off work. My job's always calling me like, "Hey, we need your FMLA paperwork," and I kept giving it to my doctor, but they wouldn't sign off on it. And I'm like, "Why? Like, what are y'all doing? I'm missing out on my job. They might not hire me back. I'm sorry, y'all. My nail is not done still." And so I'm like, okay, well, let me just see what's going on. And so they said, "Ms. Brown, you have PCOS." I said, "I'm sorry, what? What is that?" And I've never had any health issues, never been in the hospital or anything like that. And PCOS is polycystic ovarian syndrome. And so they said, "Yeah, you have PCOS, you're diabetic, and you're going to be on medication the rest of your life. It's not impossible for you to have children, but you're not going to be able to have them naturally. You're going to have to do IVF or take medication to increase your fertility." Now, this time I'm 23 years old. And I'm like, I'm 23 years old. I'm saving people's children every day. And now you're trying to tell me that I may not be able to have children on my own. Never had any health issues. And now you tell me I'm going to be on medication the rest of my life. I'm sorry, y'all. And it was a lot. I had a lot of family issues going on at the time too. So I was under a lot of pressure, and I had to tell my mom, and it was hard because my coworkers threw me a baby shower, and I had a house full of baby stuff, and it was the baby. And so it was like I wouldn't go into the other bedroom of the house. I was in a 2-bedroom house, apartment. I wouldn't go to the other bedroom because it was literally like it was haunting me. Every time I opened the door and I saw it, it was like it was haunting me. And I got to a place where I was just in the deepest depression I ever experienced in my life. And keep in mind, I'm still not going back to work. And they ended up I ended up resigning because I could not provide the paperwork that they needed to pay me for the time that I was off. And so because I didn't have a job, I was working for the state, which means they covered my tuition, which means I had to drop out of school. I didn't have money to go to school out of state. I had to move back home, and I went through the darkest time of my life when I first moved back home. I didn't leave my house for at least a month. I would literally go to my grandmother's house, go to the house, and go, and that was it. You wouldn't catch me outside the house, like, at all. And so I finally started going to church. I had been going to the church that I joined when I first went back home, but I just wasn't ready to be around people at that time, so I stopped going. And so probably about 6 months later, I went back and I ended up joining. And before I actually joined, my pastor called me and was like, not called me, he looked at me and said, he preached on Hannah and Penina that day, and I was a wreck. I was an absolute wreck. If you haven't read that story, it's in 1 Samuel 1, or is it, I think it's 1 Samuel 1 or 2 Samuel 1, one of those. And I was just a wreck. Like, and he looked at me, he said, I see you being frustrated with your life. He said, God wants to do something miraculous in your life, but you're going to have to trust him. And I see you getting frustrated, aggravated, you're crying and screaming and mad at the world, but God has you covered. And I knew what he was talking about. I knew. But I was just like, how does he know that? Like, how did he know that's what was going to be going on? And by this time, I had started going to the gym, and I had lost a significant amount of weight. Like I told you, I've always been small, so once I started working out, that weight came right off. And I had been going to the doctor in Augusta when I had moved back, and so I was letting them look and see what was going on. I had so many cysts covering my ovaries that they couldn't even recognize my ovaries. Like, it was just cysts everywhere, and it was a really scary thing for me because I've never had any health issues, but I was going through this and I couldn't understand why. And so let's go to probably go say probably say like I turned 25 in 2017, so right before my 25th birthday, probably that June or so, I had to have an MRI done. I ended up getting a new doctor, and I told her what was going on. She's like, oh, we can, I can check to see how that's going, because at that time they had been putting me on medication, and I was just like, I'm not taking it. I'm not taking no birth control. I'm not doing none of that. And so I went and had the MRI done, and it was one of the scariest things I've ever done. Like I told you, I've never had no health issues, and I'm a little bit claustrophobic. I don't like small spaces. And being in the MRI machine, it was like, to me, it felt like I was in a coffin, and I was screaming, crying, like I literally cried myself to sleep during the MRI. And they never got back with me my results. So I went to the hospital one day, and I was just like, listen, I had an MRI like a month ago. Ain't nobody tell me what's going on. I'm not going to be in a situation where the doctors know something and they're not telling me. So they gave me my results. They gave me a paper with my results. I had to go to like medical records or something. And they gave me a paper with my results. And I didn't know what I was looking at. And so they said, we'll have the nurse call you and tell you what's going on. And so the nurse, I see something that says something about there's still cysts there. Like, when the person in medical records tried to explain to me, they were like, there's still cysts there, so you're going to have to be on medication. I went home and literally balled up in my bed and cried, like, because I said, God, you left me. And I, again, trusted you and you left me. And I don't know how I'm supposed to trust you anymore after this, because you said you'd never leave me nor forsake me, but here I am. And so, working at a job that I hate, absolutely hated it. And in the situation with my health, it was just a really dark time for me. So later on that day, I ended up crying myself to sleep after I left the hospital. The nurse calls me. She says, Miss Brown, you came and got your results. And I was like, yeah, I did. And I wanted to know, can you explain them to me? She said. She was looking at them. She said, oh, everything's gone. She said, you have one bulb of like hair or sweat that looks like a sweat gland that's there, but that can be removed. Everything else is gone. I had never shared my testimony with anybody, but we ended up having a Super Sunday service probably 2 weeks after that. And I told my pastor the Sunday right after she called me. And I said, Pastor, I said, God did it. And I couldn't even hold it because I cried and cried and cried. He said, don't cry. He said, it's okay. Don't cry. And I shared my story. And that was what I really started to feel the push to do, Unsaved and Free. And so I've never had that story from anybody. I'll never be ashamed of what happened to me. Yeah, I messed up. I did a lot of things that I shouldn't have. But God still brought me out, and He still healed me. And to this day, I had no problems. My body does everything it's supposed to do on its own. And that's part of the reason why I don't take birth control anymore, because it's a hormone, and it had my hormones all over the place, which is why my body was reacting the way that it was. And I'll never recommend anybody get on birth control, ever. I won't do it, because it sends your body through like so much trauma, and it's like, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. It's just better off to have discipline in that area of your life. But yeah, it's so interesting to me now because I've met so many people who've had PCOS. People I didn't know had PCOS. People I went to college with and didn't know. There's a girl, her name is Brittany. She has 2 children, and she said, there's days where I just don't feel like myself, and I'm all over the place, and I know it's because I have PCOS, but I said, well, you still have your children, because a lot of people who have PCOS, they're told that they can't have children, and they have issues with their weight, they have issues with other things, and that's just not my story. There's this one girl I worked with, she had PCOS, and then was diagnosed with endometriosis on top of that, after going through the same thing that I went through, and I was like, God, I thank you that it's not my story. I feel awful for her, but I'm glad that it's not my story. I'm glad that God still kept me in all of that. But that's all that I have for you all, and I just pray that that this story blessed you, and that if you have PCOS and you're watching this, that you don't give up. Don't give up on God. Do not. Just don't give up on Him. He has you covered. And thank you all for watching, and I love you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.